Hello, welcome to another episode of Rando. Rob, my name is Rob, and this is the show, the video show slash podcast where I show bits of things that I have collected, parts of collections and collecting things and all kinds of random stuff that I have stored here at my house. Today's episode is a couple of days late. I try to do these on Monday, but I was feeling a little under the weather on Monday, and then yesterday was Valentine's Day, that made up fake holiday that we all know is really made for spending money and stuff. And Valentine's Day is it's a tough one to swallow, and it's tough after you've been married for so many years. This will be this year will be my 28th upcoming will be my 28th wedding anniversary, and so there are only so many boxes of chocolate and things like that you could buy for somebody. I try to do the thing where I randomly buy my wife flowers or little treats and things like that, and throughout the year, not just one day a year. So Valentine's Day is if you don't buy things for your partner 364 days a year, then Valentine's Day is a good reminder that you ought to be doing that. But really, you should be doing that more often than not. So the reason I'm talking about Valentine's Day is I'm going to show you what we did last night for Valentine's Day, which is going to lead into a very sub collection of things that I collected for a short period of time. It was a collection that I got into and then very quickly got out of. I realized that it was a silly thing to be collecting. A lot of times, a lot of my collections are triggered by a single purchase or a nostalgic feeling from an item, and I'll start buying things or adding to a collection before really thinking it through. And this is definitely an example of that. So before we talk about that, I want to talk about what we did last night for Valentine's Day. Now, my wife and I and my daughter are fans of the television show Nailed It, which is a Netflix television program. That the show itself was born out of an internet meme. What the meme was is when people try to recreate something, and in this case, it's cakes. But it could be anything, a look, a piece of clothing, artwork, whatever. And it's a sarcastic kind of thing where people will show the original item that they tried to make or that they tried to reproduce, and then they'll show what they actually made, and then they'll say, nailed it, even when they did. So that's kind of the sarcastic joke there. So there's an entire television show, a series. It's on Netflix, and they bring in people with questionable baking skills and cake decorating skills, and then they show them the most amazing cakes you've ever seen in your life. Like, I mean, they had a cake. There was an episode with a bust of Napoleon Bonaparte. They've had things, with working volcanoes and just the craziest, most insane cakes you've ever seen. And then they give these people, 2 hours to bake cakes, decorate them. And of course, the results are funny because the results are usually terrible. And so my wife, for Valentine's Day, and we've done everything. Like, how many times can you go out for dinner for Valentine's Day? How many times can you do the same things over and over? And so Susan, my wife, thought it would be fun if we spent Valentine's Day and did our own Nailed It cake decorating challenge. So my wife picked a photo of a fairly complicated cake to reproduce. Then she showed it to us 24 hours in advance, and we weren't allowed to do anything other than think about how we were going to approach the cake. And then last night on Valentine's Day, my wife had already baked the cake, so this wasn't really a baking challenge as much as a decorating challenge. But she had bought some fondant, which if you watch these cake decorating shows, you know that fondant is kind of almost a pliable, it's sugar, but it comes in a block, and you can knead it into like sheets and cover cakes and things with it. So we had access to fondant, we had access to buttercream, icing and piping bags. And yeah, that was kind of what we did. So before I talk about today's collection, which we'll get to in just a couple of minutes here, I want to show you what we did last night. So I'm going to flip over to the photo view here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the cake. If you're not, this is a cake. It looks like the bottom part, the actual cake part, is a couple of cakes stacked on top of each other, and they are decorated to look like a Valentine's Day present. And then the top of the box is open, and sticking out of the box is a puppy with big puppy eyes, and it has a ribbon in its hair. And that's kind of the gist. That's what we tried to create. So my daughter, my 17-year-old daughter, my wife, and I sat down with our cakes, our fondant, our piping bags. We gave ourselves 1 hour, but we went over that time frame a little bit till everybody was done because, we wanted everybody to have a chance. And then once we put all the cakes out, we judged them. And it was very obvious who the winner was and who the loser was. So again, if you're not watching this in the video, I'll try to describe these 3 cakes to you. But this first cake, this is what my daughter made. And by all accounts, this is a good-looking cake. You can see that you've got the package. She recreated the package. You've got the red fondant. You got the white ribbon around the package, some polka dots on the package, and then you've got this cute little dog head poking out that looks pretty much like a cute little dog head. It's got the ribbon on the head. It's very, very good. So we all 3 unanimously decided she was the winner of the contest. This one is very good. The second cake, in second place in the contest, is my wife's cake. The package is a bit more round than square. The ribbon looks okay. It does look like a dog's head, although it doesn't look like maybe the same breed of dog. The shape is a little different on the head. But you know what? It's not bad. Especially this is the first time any of us have decorated a cake like this. None of us had ever used fondant before, so it was kind of a new medium. And of course, this was all new, so we had a good time. I don't know exactly when or where things went wrong on my cake, but it was early and it was bad. So here's the picture of my cake. I thought the package part had problems. I rolled the fondant a little bit too thin, which is a lesson to be learned, because then as it draped over, the longer it sat there, gravity began to make it split. The dog's head, we made the dog's heads out of Rice Krispie treats, which I thought was okay. But the snout on mine began to sag a little bit. I had trouble getting the buttercream icing to stick to the Rice Krispie treats. I could not find where they had the black fondant, so I put red eyes on them, which kind of makes it look a bit like Cujo, or maybe that he's got the mange. I don't really know. I did okay on the ribbon. We have a saying in my house that ugly cakes still taste like cake, and that was indeed what happened here. So we had a fun time decorating the cakes. We joked that maybe this will become an annual competition for Valentine's Day. We may try this again in the future. So we had a good time spending some time together on Valentine's Day and making these cakes. Now, the other reason that I wanted to share this with you is because this ties into, again, a very specific collection that I began several years ago and then got out of after not too long. But that is collecting cake pans, specifically character-shaped pans. So let me show you some of the ones that I owned. This first one is a SpongeBob cake pan. Now, you may remember these from the 70s or the 80s, and I certainly do. My mom owned some of these. My mom baked all of my birthday cakes growing up. She made very nice, delicious cakes. And we had a few of these types of cake pans, and so I will show you towards the end. There's only about 10 pictures here to show. And when we get to the end, I'll show you the one that kicked off the collection. This one is not it. This is one that I saw that I picked up. But once I had one of these cake pans, these character cake pans, I just started buying more of them. I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting thing to own. And so I always thought about maybe I would display them on the wall, but I never did that. So they really just sat in a cabinet, and I only actually used, I believe, one of them to make a cake, which is kind of, if you're going to own something that does something and you don't use it for that one thing, then it might be time to let it go. Anyway, so this is one of the cake pans that I own in my collection. This is a SpongeBob character cake pan. This was I'm going to say my second favorite of all the cake pans that I owned. This is a very retro / vintage looking computer. This looks kind of like an IBM, maybe a PS2, that style, but the pizza box style. You got the CRT monitor on front, on top, and you got the keyboard protruding out and the dual disk drives on the front. I never baked a cake with this, but I always thought it would be really cool to put like a black and green screen, or maybe even do it blue like the Commodore 64. But I always thought this was a really, really cool cake pan. I really enjoyed this. This is a Barbie princess style cake pan. There is a price tag on this. I'm going to zoom in just because I don't remember if I can even read it. It looks like it says, I see a 3 on it, and then I see an upside down. Oh, maybe that's an S or a 2. So maybe this was a $3 pan. So like a lot of things, I'll collect anything if it's cheap enough. And, yep, not much to say about that one. Now this was, not my favorite, but this was one of my favorites. And this is a Bugs Bunny character cake pan. You can see there's old Bugs. He's eating the carrot. Now, if you ever used one of these, the way that you're supposed to decorate them is you got, I believe they call it like a star tip for your icing, and then you just put different colors, and it's almost like a paint by number. So you would do different parts of the character. You would do the rabbit gray, you would do the carrot orange. The reason I know these colors is because you're going to see a photo. This is the only cake pan of all the cake pans that I owned that I actually used. I actually baked a cake with this Bugs Bunny cake pan. The end result did not look very much like Bugs Bunny, which seems impossible that you would bake a cake with a Bugs Bunny cake pan and it wouldn't turn out to look like Bugs Bunny. But you also have to get the right colors and things like that. And also, if you're looking at the picture, you'll see that these cake pans have lots of little details, but those details don't always translate perfectly onto the cake. So you kind of have to use a little bit of creativity when you're decorating the cakes themselves. This is a little clown cake that I own. Now, I swear that the price tag on this says $25, but I'm telling you on all that is holy, I would never pay $25 for a cake pan. I mean, if maybe it says 2 for $5, I would believe that. But I'm sure that combined all these together, I did not spend $25. There was only one of these that was remotely expensive. But this is a clown. I mean, this would be great for a kid's birthday party. You would make a little clown cake, unless they're afraid of clowns, in which case you would get all the cake and they would run screaming. That'd be a bad birthday. After I began collecting all these little cake pans, my wife bought me this for my birthday, and this is a cake pan that allows you to bake a giant cake that looks like a giant Oreo cookie. And it had different parts, different cake pans, one for the cookie part, I think, and one for the middle or whatever. I thought this was a really nice gift, and we had it in the kitchen for a long time, and we never opened the box. We never actually made a giant sandwich cookie cake pan, but it certainly looks delicious. I wish I had it now. This is the most expensive cake pan that I purchased, and I want to say it was $10, but it could have been even more. But this is an R2-D2 cake pan, and you can see at the top it says Wilton Party Pan R2-D2. It says R2-D2 cake. It has create a Star Wars character. And then on the bottom right, it has a logo for Empire Strikes Back. So this was the coolest cake pan. This was my favorite cake pan of all the ones that I collected. This is probably the one I spent the most money on, and this is the one that I found first. And once I found this one, I thought, you know what? If I'm going to get one cake pan, I should get more cake pans. So this is what really inspired and started the collection. Here is one more picture, and I'm going to zoom in again just to see the prices on these. These look like they were about $10 each, but I got some sort of discount on them. I don't remember what it was, but I think when you buy a bunch of cake pans at once, they will give you a deal. But in this picture, there are 3 cake pans. The Bugs Bunny one that I showed before is in this. In the middle is a Superman cake pan, and the one on the far right is Tweety Bird. So anything that had licensed characters was more expensive. Obviously, because you have to pay for the rights and things like that. Some of them, I don't know. Like I could see a kid wanting a Bugs Bunny cake. A Tweety Bird cake is a little weird. Superman, I could definitely see. I'm looking back at some of the other ones. SpongeBob obviously would be a super popular one. That computer one, I love that. I would totally love a computer cake for my birthday. So anyway, just kind of to recap, I was buying all these cake pans. I wasn't using them. And then I thought, what am I doing with my life? Why am I collecting cake pans? I already collect plenty of other stuff. Cake pans, I don't need to add cake pans to my list of things I collect. So anyway, in this last photo here, you can see this is my daughter and I baked this cake using the Bugs Bunny cake pan. And then we used that star tip to basically drop colors in different sections, and we created this Bugs Bunny-esque. It doesn't really look like Bugs Bunny so much. The gray is wrong. We made the gray much too dark, and so when you do that, it kind of changes the character. But yeah, this was our Bugs Bunny cake, and we made this for Easter. I can't believe that the date says 2018. I would guess we did this in like 2015, but the date says 2018. So not. That just can't be right. I gotta double check that file. That doesn't seem right. But yeah, that's my daughter and I made this cake, and that, like I said, this is the only cake pan of all the ones I owned that we actually used. So once I owned all those cake pans and wasn't using them and wasn't displaying them, I thought they're just adding up junk. I got to get rid of them. So let me switch back over to the main screen here. So I didn't know what to do with these cake pans, and so I posted on Facebook and I said, hey, does anybody want some cake pans? Is anybody interested in cake pans? And I got a few people. I've got a few people on my Facebook thing that no matter what I post, if it's for free, they'll always hop in and want it. So I definitely could have got rid of them, but someone said that you can donate them to the public library, and that at the library they actually have, just like how people check out books. And I don't know when the last time you went to your local public library, but my public library, the last time we went there, not only can you obviously check out books, and you probably know that you can check out CDs and DVDs and all those sorts of things, but ours actually has a creator space where they have a green screen wall, they have iPads, they have multiple computers set up with all the Adobe suite, so you can film yourself against the green screen, and you can do editing on the Adobe, on the computers that they have set up there. They have a Cricut machine, and they also have multiple 3D printers. And they said that I believe they said that the printing is free. I thought at one point, you had to pay for the filament or something, but I think they said it was free. So libraries offer a lot of things that a lot of people don't think about, especially if you're older like me and you just remember going to the library as a kid. You go, well, yeah, you get books or maybe magazines, but that's it. But there's a lot of different stuff at libraries. And someone told me that one of our local libraries had a collection of cake pans, and that people can check out a cake pan and use it and bring it back. And so that was immediately what we did. I took all the cake pans and we went to the library and donated all the cake pans to the library. So somebody out there, you could go to my local library, one of the libraries here, and you could check out the R2D2 cake pan or the Bugs Bunny cake pan or the Tweety Bird or any of the pans that I had. And I'm sure they have a lot of other cake pans as well. And you can check one of those out and make your own character themed cake. So again, it's difficult to explain why I started collecting these. I definitely have a nostalgic connection to them. My mom used these when I was a kid. I love the R2D2 one, which is what started it all. And just seeing the characters from your childhood, seeing Superman, seeing Bugs Bunny, I just thought, well, this is a cool thing. And then all of a sudden, I had a collection of things that were taking up space and not getting used, and I was not really enjoying. So it's one of those collections that you get into, and then as quick as you can, you get out of. And that's what I did. So one thing I did not get out of, though, is eating cake. I still enjoy eating cake, and there are 3 dog-themed cakes of questionable decorating skills, but all very, very tasty, sitting out there in the kitchen waiting for me. So I'm going to go have a slice of cake. Thanks for checking out another episode of Rando Rob. Don't forget, if you want to watch episodes of Rando Rob, go to youtube.com/Rob O'Hara. You can find the playlist for Rando Rob and watch the videos there. If you like listening to them, you can find Rando Rob on Apple Podcasts. I always want to say iTunes. Or you could go to podcast.robohara.com and check out all the episodes of Rando Rob and listen to them or download them from there. Thanks for checking it out, and you'll be hearing some vintage or retro episodes of Rando Rob throughout the week. Thanks again for checking it out. Bye.